Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast, where we discuss all things empowering, encouraging, and inspiring. My name is Yvonne Ellis. I'm an empowerment speaker, author, coach, trainer, and founder of Yumi Empowerment, a company that facilitates the empowerment of people. I help people to make positive life change, live in their purpose, and develop into their best version of self. I share stories, interviews, spiritual encouragement, and actionable tips to empower, encourage, and inspire you to live the life you want. So if you want to live the empowered life, join me each week on my podcast so we can take the journey together. Hello, Empowered Lifers. Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. My name is Yvonne. Today is a very special day for so many reasons, but the first thing I want to share with you is this is the 100th episode. Guys, can you believe it? That we have made it to 100 episodes of Living the Empowered Life podcast. For me, it is a huge achievement, and it makes me really proud to see in another area of my life that I have been doing something consistently. I'm so happy about this, and I will, as always, be doing something to celebrate, but not quite now, not with Christmas out of the way. I've still got to recover from that first, but probably in a couple months' time, I will take myself off out somewhere to celebrate this fantastic achievement. I was reading a statistic on podcast the other day, and it said that most podcasters don't even make it to 20 episodes or even 50 episodes. So I am in a small percentage of podcasters that are continuing their podcast episodes and have made it to 100 episodes. For me, that is a big deal because, you know, I edit and create all the content for my podcast episodes myself. So I have been involved in its whole journey. I don't, freelance it out to anybody, not quite yet, but maybe in the future. But, it's something that I am really, really proud of. And as I said, I will be celebrating. But in today's episode, it is the end of year recap, 2024 recap. And I have been spending the last few days, because I've had a bit of a break this week, guys, because, I've been working hard all year. And I'm sure you're on a break too with the Christmas. But I have been spending this week just going through my photos, going through my journals, going through my Instagram page, through different things, notes, to have a look and reflect back on 2024. And I'm going to do things in a little bit of a different format today, guys. I'm going to share with you the quote at the end of the episode. And before I get into my year recap, guys, I just want to welcome all the new listeners to this podcast. Welcome. I hope that you find this episode to be something of value to you. And as always, to my continued listeners, guys, you know already, my long-time Empowered Lifers, I really appreciate you listening in, sharing these episodes, leaving reviews or feedback. I really do appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed or hitting the follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Living the Empowered Life YouTube channel, I urge you to do so that you don't miss the bi-weekly episodes of this podcast. So guys, off with a bang, as I've mentioned, 100 episodes in, and it is quite timely actually that we're doing the 2024 recap on the 100th episode. I think that is a perfect way to finish the year. Well, for me to do this podcast on this day, on this occasion, definitely feels like something that should be memorable. And 2024 has been memorable for me. So as I've shared, I've had a chance to go through and look at different things that I've accumulated, over the year, written down pictures and stuff. And, I have picked some highs and lows of the year to share with you as well. And I'm sure if you think about your year, maybe you can pick some things that were highs and lows for you as well, things that were really good for you, and recap your year. And if you haven't done that, I would encourage you to do so, because I think it is good practice actually to recap on a year, because then it helps you to appreciate, the things that you've done. It will help you to look at things maybe that you want to improve for next year. Also as well, recapping on the year will help you, I find it helps me actually, to think about the goals that I want to set ahead for 2025. that's one thing that I didn't do really in 2024 this year, is to set really clear goals. Because as I mentioned in my How to End a Bad Year episode, 2024 for me wasn't really great. So I was not really focused this year on my goals as such, because I didn't really set any. But I have started to write down some stuff that I want to achieve in 2025. So I'm just going to share with you some bits from my year. Just on the whole, just looking at it, it wasn't as busy as the other years previously, like 2023, 2022, 2021. I think in part this year, because obviously at the beginning of the year, in January, I was working on my dissertation. Now, if you followed me on my Yumi Empowerment Instagram, you would have seen that I did a series of videos about my master's degree journey, and it was one that was very, very difficult, but I didn't even think that I was going to be able to do the dissertation. And I shared that, with people who are following me on my Instagram. If you're not following me, it's YEME_empowerment. Over there, I share motivational, empowering, encouraging content. I am also on TikTok as well, and Facebook. I don't really use Facebook and Twitter as much, or X as much, but in 2025 I'm going to start being a bit more consistent over there. But mainly it's Instagram and TikTok. You will find my empowering, encouraging and inspiring content. But I did share with some of those videos that my dissertation was really, really hard. I really struggled with it. Mentally, I was not feeling the best, and it was just a constant struggle. I really, really struggled with it. And even though I got a really good mark, I really felt that I could have done a lot better with my dissertation, if only I was in a better headspace. But in January, that was my focus. That was what I was working on, and I handed it in. I didn't think I was going to pass. I thought I was going to fail in my mindset, in myself. Because I wasn't feeling the best, I was kind of resigning myself to feeling like that. But lo and behold, in February, I received notification that I passed my degree. I received my certificate, my degree certificate, and I've still got to get a frame for that as well. But I was really over the moon, shocked, surprised that I passed my master's degree. And it's been a really, really weird journey thinking about my degree, because for a long time in my life, especially in my early 20s and stuff, a lot of people would always dismiss the things that I achieved, through hard work, through taking opportunities, making opportunities, doing short courses, all that stuff, and would always try and define me by this thing of having a degree. They said, oh, if you had a degree, I'd be more validated by people. That's kind of the impression they were giving me, I should say. But I have found actually a degree hasn't made any difference to who I am as a person. It hasn't taken away from any of my achievements. It hasn't topped any of my achievements. Obviously, it's a huge deal, an accomplishment to have a master's degree, but it hasn't defined me in the way that a lot of people were telling me it would, make me more kind of, distinguished, or make me more kind of the things that I'm doing more valued. It hasn't, and I'm glad that I was able to do the degree in my 40s, at a time when I wanted to do it in something that I was interested in doing it in, rather than doing it because people said, like, when I was in my 20s, I should be doing this and doing that. And, if I did the degree, I'd be more of a worthy person. I'm glad that I did it that way. I'm glad God opened the door and designed for me to do it that way, because I will give all glory to God for all the things that I have achieved. The master's degree is just another piece of icing on the cake, really. And I'm proud of my achievement, and I'm proud that I stuck with it. It was a great way to start a new year. I was really, really blessed and thankful for the fact that I had made it through and that I completed my master's degree. Another great achievement that happened for me in 2024 was the release of my 5th book, Exceptional, Not Expected. Exceptional, Not Expected was really, really special for me. It was inspired by my daughter, Jada. It was inspired by coming through, many life circumstances, wisdom gleaned from so many different circumstances. It felt right to put myself on the front of my book, Exceptional Not Expected, Before, I always used to feel quite funny about putting myself on the front of a book. But then as I started to do things like visit Waterstones and research books and look for ideas and inspiration and stuff, I saw that there were lots of authors, lots of people that put themselves on the front of the cover of their book. And why not? It's my hard work, it's something that I'm proud of. It doesn't mean I'm being boastful or prideful or anything like that. It is just a sign, a symbol of what that book is about. And that book, Exceptional Not Expected, An Ordinary Woman's Guide to Living an Empowered Life, that picture of me on the book represents that. So I released that book. That book, I had so much amazing feedback from people about the book, how it's helped them to think about themselves in a different way, to get, wisdom and advice about situations that they're experiencing. So many great conversations came up through that book, and I'm just really proud at what that book has been able to achieve. I'm proud of all 5 of my books, actually. And this year, not this year, we're nearly at the end of this year, but in 2025, my plan is to release 2 books next year, which will be Exceptional Not Expected Volume 2, which I will be sharing with you the release date sometime in the new year, and also another book I'm doing for a particular audience of people that I've always wanted to do a book for. So hopefully by the end of 2025, I will be adding to my total of 7 books as an author, and I will continue to write books as long as the Lord God blesses me with the ability to do so. I really enjoy writing. I enjoy doing the newsletter. I enjoy writing books. I love the fact that I'm an author. So many different things have come out of just being an author. I've been able to do so many talks. I've been able to speak to people on different things that I have been through and encourage them through that. And, this book, Exceptional Not Expected, I was just so pleased with the way it came out and what was in it. And, my daughter did the photo for my cover. And, it's just been such an amazing experience to release my 5th book. And long may it continue that I release other books. So that book release was in January. So some other things that I can recap on for this year, we're skipping all the way to June, because from about March to June time, I took a big break because I wasn't feeling in a really good place. Some things happened that was really difficult for me to process, and I will share one of those things at the end when I kind of give the highs and lows of the year. But that thing that happened, plus having my own kind of little things of feeling burnt out, meant that I had a break. And I shared in one of the episodes in April, the Truth and Transparency episode, that I needed to take a break. And that happened to be the only time I took a break from the podcast for a couple of months, actually, because I really needed it. And it was something that I just decided to do. Even though I'd been consistent in doing the podcast for, since November 2020, I just felt I needed a break. So between February and June, I didn't really do anything, amazing or have anything really to share. I was just working on myself, building back my strength, reflecting, spending time with the Lord. As I said, I went back to therapy. So there were those things that were going on in those months. But in June of this year, it was 6 years since I set up my business, Yumi Empowerment, and I didn't do anything to celebrate. Because I was just coming back from the back of all those things that I've just been sharing with you, I didn't do anything to celebrate. But I am going to do something to celebrate, and I will be posting something on my social media page, because being in business for me for 6 years, I've done over 138 contracts. That's a huge achievement. When the pandemic hit, as I've shared before, I didn't even think that my business would last. It was so financially tough that I really started to believe that, I would have to fold Human Empowerment or go back and get a job to help to tick things over. But by the grace of God, my business didn't fold. I didn't have to go back and get a job, just to tide things over. As a matter of fact, God started to open more doors for more contracts for me. I lost 2 major contracts in 2022, And yeah, it was just really, really tough. But the fact that I've made it to 6 years of having a business, and I would still say I'm at the beginning, you know, I really would say I'm still at the beginning. But even though I feel like that, it's a huge achievement to make it this far. Again, when you read some statistics about businesses, most businesses crumble within the first 5 years. I've made it by the grace of God to 6 years. And there's so much more I want to do in my business now. Now that I've got my master's degree out the way and I've got that extra knowledge, and there's so many ideas and things that I want to do, you know, I'm really looking forward to expanding my business in 2025. But for me, it's a huge achievement. It's a huge achievement, and I'm really proud of myself. Same way, in July, my non-profit Daughter Arise, which is a peer empowerment organisation that supports survivors of childhood sexual abuse, turned 13 years old. Again, another huge achievement. When I started that non-profit in July 2011, I didn't even think it was going to go the way it has gone, but I've been able to help so many women and men and young people who have gone through childhood sexual abuse. I've been able to be in a position where people trust me to tell me things they haven't even told their family or friends, you know, talking about their experiences of going through childhood sexual abuse, supporting them, praying for them, encouraging them, putting on different, things like support group to support people that have gone through that. Again, another huge achievement. And, I'm looking forward to building on Daughter Rise as we go into 2025. It's about to get a new website. I've been working with a lady called Lucy, who's the webmaster, for nearly a year now on designing a new website for Daughter Rise. I'm also going to start back doing my once a month blog over there. I haven't done it for a few years. And, I'm looking forward as well to launching with Daughter Arise coffee mornings, so people can pop in and have a coffee and a chat. And that's going to be happening in 2025. So 2 big things in 2 very important months: June with my business turning 6 years old, and July with my non-profit Daughter Arise, which I'm founder of, turning 13 years old. Again, these are things that I will be celebrating in 2025, because really in 2024, I didn't really feel like celebrating a lot of things, if I'm being honest. But as I've always said to you, empowered lifers, anything that you achieve in life, anything that you accomplish, anything that you've done, you need to celebrate it and mark the occasion. I'm a firm believer in that, and I lead by example, so that is what I'm going to do. The next thing that happened in July this year is that I celebrated 19 years of marriage. Now, if you would have told me even probably 5 years ago, 8 years ago, that I'd still be married, I would probably be kind of shaking my head. I don't know. Me and my husband have gone through some really tough times, but by the grace of God, God has kept us together and helped us to work through our differences, has helped us to focus on our marriage. And through the good and through the bad, the Lord God has been with us through it all. There's many things that I can tell you about my husband, but one of the things I can definitely say to you is that he's a kind man and he's a good man. He is somebody who is always developing. From the person I knew when I first met him to where he is now, it's just a beautiful thing to see. And he would probably say the same about me, that he has seen growth in me, he has seen changes in me, and that is the beautiful thing about marriage. It has enhanced us and helped us to work on ourselves individually, and also to be aware and be mindful of each other. Marriage is not easy, and a lot of people, I think, find that marriage is not something that is going to be beneficial in this day and age, but it absolutely is. And for me, the biggest advantage of being married is being blessed by God. God is very clear in his word that he blesses marriage. He doesn't recognize, relationships other than marriage to bless through. And for me to be able to be part of a marriage which has been built with God is something that I considered one of my greatest achievements, considering both of us have come from different backgrounds. Both of us have not had that example of marriage, and we have just kind of forged this vision of marriage together. Celebrating 19 years was lovely. We went to a restaurant in Mayfair, we drank champagne, we reflected, we laughed. It was just a beautiful day. next year, 2025, will be 20 years of marriage. And another beautiful thing about that is that our daughter gets to witness that. My daughter has made lots of comments on our marriage. She's seen the good and she's seen the bad. She's seen the teamwork. She's seen the difference in personalities. And I'm so glad that she has been able to be born into marriage and seen marriage and been able to ask questions about marriage as well. So for me, it's a beautiful thing to be part of with my husband and with my daughter. The next thing that happened that was significant for me in July was breaking the spirit of shame. Now, when I wrote about in my book, Daughter Arise, about the humiliation and embarrassment that was caused to my family by false accusations against my husband, against me, by people who I thought cared for me, when it all happened, it was just a surprise and a shock. One of the beautiful things that the Lord has showed us, though, is that God said that to me and my husband, that he will restore the years the locusts had eaten, and that, the things that people have done against us, he's going to use to bless us. And that's exactly what happened. In 2008, when I left Croydon, we moved up to our new area where we've been living ever since. And God has just done so many amazing things in our lives. All the people that wished us bad, wished us ill will, God says he sees the hearts of people. People can fool people all the time, but God saw the bad-mindedness towards me and my husband, our family, that people didn't want us to succeed. And when he moved us out of Croydon, even though I left there broken, and I did a video on it about, being leaving there and going back there 14 years later, when I left there, I left there broken, and I felt very sad because I was living there as a family of four, with me, my husband and my two daughters. And through other people's nasty actions, we moved to a new area with only our youngest daughter. So, a lot of people were pleased about that. A lot of people were bad-minded towards us about that. But God said he sees what they've done and he's going to bless us and elevate us. And that's exactly what he did. Going back to Croydon from 2008, going back in 2024 to the same place where we lived was a big deal, because my husband had been asking me for a while if I would do it, and I said no. As far as I was concerned, I didn't want to go back to that horrible place, but going back there broke something off of me. I realised in stepping foot back there how far the Lord God had brought us, how far he had brought me. Imagine, I left there in 2008 and I hadn't even wrote my first book. But going back there in 2024, I'm now an author of 5 books. I have been able to do many successful things since leaving there. And it just gave me that realisation that I had nothing to be ashamed of. I had done nothing wrong. My husband hadn't done anything wrong. And we had nothing to be ashamed of. And we just saw the goodness of God in how he blessed us from leaving that place. I have been blessed beyond measure, and so is my husband, and so is my daughter. And, I continue to just be thankful for that, because I felt there was something to be ashamed of the way I left. But over the years, being able to work through the pain, the hurt, everything else, God has just shown me you had nothing to be ashamed of. And it broke that kind of shame thing over me, because I think I carried that a lot from going through childhood sexual abuse. When things would happen, I would feel ashamed about certain things. But, God has helped me and delivered me from that spirit of shame. That was a huge thing to be broken off of my life that I'd been carrying around for so many years, even before this situation that I wrote about in my book, Daughter Rise. It had been shame and guilt had been part of me from a child, and it was finally broken off of me in July. So I praise God for that, and I'm thankful for that, because it just released me from so many things. So August was my birthday. I celebrated my birthday, 48th birthday. Nice, quiet day. I wasn't feeling really well. Had to cancel my breakfast at Claridge's. But it was a reflective day. It was a nice day. And again, just looking back on the year, seeing how much I'd accomplished. Each birthday I look back and I see that I've been doing new and different things. And, that for me, my birthday was just really nice. It was exactly what I wanted it to be actually this year. Next year I can go back to having, bigger celebrations and things like that. But, I feel as I've got older, actually, I'm quite happy with just doing the quieter things. So in October, I went to my first networking event in 4 years. I hadn't gone to a networking event since February 2020, just before the pandemic hit. So it was a big deal, really. I didn't really rush to get out there to go to networking events, because as I shared, I'm quite an introverted person. It's kind of weird because, God has put me in a position to be a creative person, to do content creation and videos and stuff, and I love doing all that. But I am quite an introverted person. I don't like to be around a lot of people. So going to networking events didn't really seem to me like a big deal. But then I started to realise that I do need to get out there to some degree to let people know what I'm doing, to grow the Living the Empowered Life community, to tell people about my podcast, to, connect with other people, that can help maybe to open opportunities for me in my business. So I went along to this Karen Brady business event. It was okay. I was expecting it to be a lot better, to be honest with you. It was very noisy in the venue, but I got to speak to a few people and make a really good connection with the lady that I met there. And yeah, it was just good to get back out, and I've set myself a goal of, from next year, going to one networking thing a quarter. That's what I can manage. That's what I can do. That's what I'm planning on doing, I should say. November, as I've shared at the beginning, 4 years of this podcast. I started it on November the 28th or 29th, 2020. We're now at 100 episodes. So pleased. And, I'm looking forward to doing more episodes. And November as well was when I had a surprise encounter with a lady in bookshop in Clapham, and I was going in there to just check out my book, and got talking to her, and she ended up buying my book, and we got talking and stuff. So that was really nice as well. I never had an experience like that, so that was lovely. So I'm going to share with you quickly some highs, some lows, things I've enjoyed, looking forward to in 2025, just to wrap up this episode. So when it comes to the podcast, I'm going to share with you some statistics that I have found to do with my podcast. That was sent to me actually by Buzzsprout, the platform I host my podcast on. So I did 20 episodes this year of the podcast, which is great. Obviously, working it out bi-weekly, it works out to 1.67 episodes per month, whatever that is. But I have done 20 bi-weekly episodes, and they have called me a bi-weekly boss. But in all honesty, to do bi-weekly episodes, for me, it fits with my schedule. I am not somebody that's going to be able to do a podcast every week at the moment, because I have my work I do as a consultant, a contractor. I also have other things going on in my life. I'm trying to find the balance as I go into 2025 as well, because, as I'm going to mention, one of the lows of the year was that I got burnt out. I've been going at the hill, since 2018 when I started my business. So, I can only manage bi-weekly episodes, but I'm happy with that, because I would rather commit to what I can do than promise you something and say, yeah, I'm going to do every episodes of the podcast every week and not deliver. I think that this is something that works for me and my lifestyle, that helps me to, get it done, doing it bi-weekly. So I don't mind being called a bi-weekly boss. So the next thing when it comes to my podcast is where the listeners are listening from, the most popular cities. So I'm going to do a top 5 breakdown of the most popular city, and we're going to start with number 5. So it's got the top 5 places, and coming in at number 5 is Mumbai in India. Wow, who would think that I would be listened to in India of all places? But if you're listening in, any listeners in Mumbai, welcome. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please share it amongst your friends and family. I really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting this podcast. So the next place that listeners of my podcast tune in from is in a place called Groningen. Now, I have had to just quickly Google that, because I've never heard of this place, Groningen. So it's a province in the Netherlands, dubbed the capital of the North. So any listeners in Groningen, thank you for listening in, and I hope you enjoy the episode. The next place that I have listeners in, and this is now the top 3, is in Los Angeles, California. I've been to Los Angeles, I've been to California with my daughter, and we absolutely loved it. As a matter of fact, we are making our plans to go back again soon because I want to go to the LA Book Fair and I'm going to be taking my daughter. So for me, LA and California is very close to my heart. So on the top list of 5, they're in at number 3. I get a lot of listeners from there. I'm so happy to have listeners from California, Groningen and Mumbai listening in. It just shows that the podcast is not just in one place, that listeners are listening in. And, I'm really pleased that, people are listening in from all over the world. Number 2 is Singapore. Wow. So I have lots of listeners in Singapore. Welcome, guys, to the podcast. That's nice to know that I have, listeners who are listening in from over there. And at the top of the list with the most downloads is Frankfurt. So Frankfurt is in Germany. So quite a varied list all over the world, different regions. So for me, that is absolutely amazing that, people are listening in those countries. So again, from the podcast platform that collects all the data of where listeners are listening into this podcast from, they've given me another badge and called me a jet setter. So 32 countries apparently have listened in to the podcast. Top 5 countries, again, United States, Germany, Singapore, United Kingdom and Netherlands, and obviously India. So the top episodes that people listened into was Things I've Realised as I've got older, Stay Optimistic, Unleash Your Power by Letting Go, Truth and Transparency, and Things People Are Doing Over 40. So those are episodes 80, 86, 81, 90 and 92. And top of the year, I've had 593 downloads, 20 episodes, 32 countries, 436 minutes. So guys, I'm really, really pleased that my podcast is making little ripples around the world. And, no doubt by the time I get to 20 or 200 episodes, I guess things would look a lot different again. But I'd love to keep these statistics and reflect on them and share them with you as the listeners to let you know that the Living Empowered Life community, we are out on the move and we are, growing. Another high, which leads on to that from the podcast as well, is that we are growing with the Living the Empowered Life subscriber community. I had a goal of how many subscribers I want to get for 2024. I wanted to get for 2024. I've been able to do that. And now my goal is to get another 100 subscribers for the end of 2025. So if you haven't signed up to the Living the Empowered Life newsletter, it's in the show notes, description box. Sign up so you can get free, empowering, motivational and inspiring content to your mailbox. Once a month I do that newsletter, but when I do it, the feedback and the encouragement I get from the subscribers telling me how it's helped them to have courage to go after the things they want in life. It has helped them to, step out and try new things. It's just so beautiful. I love doing the newsletter. So for me, that's been another high of my year. Finishing my 6th book has been another high as well. That is more or less good to go. I've got some final things that I just want to do on that. But, the book is going to be released shortly in 2025. The 6th book of Exceptional, the 6th book, but the 2nd volume of Exceptional Not Expected. So I will be sharing more details with you, as I mentioned, soon. Some lows for this year for me. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about them. But one of them was a friend of mine, an old friend of mine. We came up in care together. We were in secure unit together. Both of us had gone through childhood sexual abuse. We went and got our nose pierced together at 14 years old. We used to go drinking together, all that stuff, long time friend I had in the care system. We maintained contact for a number of years as well, especially in the earlier years with when we came out of care, when my oldest daughter was like young. My old friend had her children, but one of the lows of this year was that her son was murdered. For me, it made me feel very, very down and depressed. This happened in May, because I remember him and his brothers, obviously as young boys, helping to look after them, taking my daughter to see them and things like that, and just remembering how sweet and how lovely he was when he was little. And it just made me very, very sad for my friend. I haven't been able to contact her, but I went and laid flowers down at the scene, with a card, to let her know that I've tried to contact her and couldn't get to contact her and find her. But no doubt in time we will end up seeing each other again, because last time I saw her was probably around 2017. But my number changed, her number changed and all that stuff. But for me, it was really a real downer for me. There is a lot going on with knife crime and gun crime amongst young black boys. God has laid it on my heart to pray for, even before this happened, to pray for black boys in general, which I have been doing. But for me, that was really a downer for the year. Coming in the midst of everything as well that I was feeling, but I pray for my friend and her other 3 sons very often, and the dad. But yeah, very, very sad state of affairs. Only 26 years old. Such a waste of life, really. Another thing that was a low for me this year was burnout. Just feeling burnt out. I didn't realise I was burnt out, but I was spiritually, emotionally, mentally burnt out. Still managed to push through and do some things, but there were some things that I kind of took a step back from doing full on. One of them being the support group for Daughter Rise. Things to do with my business, not really putting myself out there. I really needed that time in 2024 to get myself together, and I feel in sorts that I have got my mojo back a little bit, and I am ready to go for the new year again. Another low was struggling with bad habits. I will share someday the bad habits that I have struggled with, that have been a battle for me, and when I look back through my journal for 2024, I see that the battle has been strong in this area, but I am continuing to trust God for help and deliverance from this particular bad habit in my life. Things I've enjoyed this year has been my little outings, also going out with my husband and my daughter as well. But those are things we do together as a family. Me and my husband like to go out to eat and go restaurants with our daughter, or by ourselves. We like to go on long walks. All those things we love to do. And it's funny because a friend of mine who I've had for years has always commented and said, "Oh, it's so cute when I see you two out and about going on your walks." That's just something we like to do. We like to walk to new places, see new places, keep fit, that type of thing. But yeah, going out together as a family is great, but more things I like to do by myself is going to exhibitions. I went to the Ritz Hotel for the first time, never been there before, so I can add that to my little list of places that I've gone, because I've gone Lanesborough Hotel, I've gone Claridge's a few times, Ritz, I'm going to be going somewhere else again soon, so I love going to those types of things. Going to the ballet for the first time at the Royal Opera and Ballet House was absolutely amazing, absolutely enjoyed that. Never thought I would even, consider enjoying a ballet, but it was so different to anything I had done. Obviously they tell you to put your phones away, you have to immerse yourself in the performance, and it was really good. It was really good. Nobody was on their phones, no one was taking pictures. It was just such a nice experience. So the next thing on my list for next year is to go to the opera. I've never been to the opera, but I like to dress up. So I am going to be going to the opera, and the little kind of conversation I had with somebody who works at the Opera and Ballet House gave me some really good kind of tips and education on ballet, which was a nice bonus, and opera. So I am going to be asking him what opera he thinks that I should go to. I took his recommendation and went to the ballet that he said that I might enjoy, and I did enjoy it. Very different, but very enjoyable. And if you haven't gone somewhere that you feel that you wouldn't belong, I would encourage you to do that. I did a whole newsletter on that, guys, about visiting places you don't belong. It is good for personal development. It is a good experience to have. So yeah, I really enjoyed going to the ballet, and I've just really enjoyed doing creative stuff this year. I've enjoyed creating videos. I've done a lot of things on TikTok, and my content on TikTok is really well received, which was really weird for me to kind of see. My husband has been encouraging me to join TikTok since 2020, and I was just like, no, I didn't really like it at first, but really, my content over there, people really, really like it, and, I'm really pleased that I've been able to continue to create content on TikTok and YouTube and all the videos, all the things that I've been creating. Dream Chasers workshops coming up on the 25th of January, and I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be an online 2-hour workshop to help you to go after your goals and dreams, get encouragement, a plan and a strategy. I will leave a link to it in the show notes. What else? Things I'm looking forward to in 2025 is accomplishing my goals. As I said, this year I didn't really have goals. I didn't really make goals or focus on goals because I was just busy trying to sort myself out. But I have some goals that I've written down already for 2025, which I'm looking forward to trying to accomplish. Also growing the Living the Empowered Life community, continuing to work on myself mentally, emotionally and spiritually. Those are the things that I'm looking forward to in 2025. So if you were to ask me to sum up 2024 in a few words, I would say it was difficult. It was positive, to, complete opposite words. Positive in the fact that I was able to still achieve some things. Difficult for some of the reasons that I said. I would say that it was character building. And I would say, even though I had regrets and different things like that, I still feel that I've started and finished the year on a positive note. And I'm looking forward to, as I said, just seeing what 2025 brings. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I wanted to finish the podcast episode with a quote, and it's by somebody called Hal Borland. It says, "Year's end is neither an end nor a beginning, but a going on, with all the wisdom that experience can instill in us." I think that's just the perfect quote to end, because, the end of a new year is only the end of a year in a sense, but it's not the end of your life. It's not an end for anything that you're doing. Maybe it might be an end for certain things that you've closed the door on. But in terms of the things that you want to achieve to help you to live an empowered life, it is neither the end nor the beginning. It's a continuation. And what you can do with the things you've learned from this year, with the highs, the lows, the regrets, the mistakes, the achievements, is to use these things to empower you to go into 2025. It is going to be your year, either make or break, to live the life that you want, to achieve your dreams, and to continue to develop into the person you want to be. The Bible scripture to round up this last episode of the year comes from Job 8:7, and it's the English Standard Version. "Then though your beginnings were small, your final days will be great." God always has a plan for our hearts. God always has a plan for our lives. It doesn't matter how you start, it's how you go towards finishing. And with God, your latter days will be better than your former days. I encourage you to seek a relationship with the Lord God for yourself, and He will help you to achieve your goals, your dreams, and not only your goals and dreams, the vision and purpose He has for your life. So guys, I think I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully you've been able to listen to the whole of this episode. Maybe you've had to stop and start. Anyway, thank you for listening in. As we end up this year, I want to wish you a happy new year for 2025. I pray and hope that this year, 2025, will be your year. All the links to the Dream Chasers workshop, books, YouTube channel, everything can be found in the show notes description box below. Until the next episode, guys, Happy New Year and take care.